The Olympic Games are underway in Paris, and it's usually a time to celebrate young amateur athletes as they give their native nations and the world a unifying appreciation for exceptional skill at events that most of us could not dream of doing. But leave it to the French to almost destroy the power of the Games with a depraved and demon-inspired sacrilegious tribute to stupidity. Seriously. They produced a pageant that featured a mockery of the Last Supper, which they later claimed was really a tribute to Greek gods. But it was all about imagery of homosexuality and transgenderism, and some of the perverted messaging was more appropriate for an adult theater than a family-friendly Olympic ceremony. After the overwhelming backlash, the organizers pretended to apologize. They said that if anyone was offended, they sure were sorry. What a punk and pathetic non-apology. I mean, when you say, if anyone was offended, really? When you say that, the producers of this perverted pornography blamed the audience and pretty much said that it was our fault that we thought parading mostly naked people, spray-painted and dressed in stages of undress, to fully extol a lack of decency was disgusting. It's our fault. Somehow we should have seen this filth as a tribute to diversity. I think the only thing worse than shoving Satan in our faces is blaming the audience for not lapping it up like dogs going after a bowl of beef and meat gravy. And the media attempt to paint VP candidate J.D. Vance as weird. That was about as weird as things can get. Hey, folks, the Democrats and the media colluded to push that very word, weird, 150 times in one day. That was weird. J.D. Vance grew up in abject poverty, joined the Marines, served in Iraq, put himself through college and Yale Law School, faithfully married with small children, and goes to church every Sunday. And the Democrats think that is weird, and that the Olympic ceremony was great. Jill Biden praised the Olympic performance. You know what? I think Dr. Jill needs a doctor. And I personally think it's weird that the party and people on the left still believe that it is normal for a biological male pretending to be a woman to compete against a real woman, even in sports like boxing, where a he pretending to be a she pummeled a real she. And this nonsense from the same party and people who say they want a woman president, but then say they don't really know what a woman is, because you got to be a biologist to know that. That, my friend, that is weird. But back to the attempt to paint J.D. Vance as weird. I think it's weird to think that wide open borders are okay and that a record $35 trillion debt is okay. I think it's weird to sympathize with the cold-blooded butchers of Hamas and squeeze Israel to accept the nutty and utterly irrational two-state solution that has been idiotically pushed by both Republican and Democrat administrations. Even considering such nonsense in light of the horrific slaughter of civilian Jews last October 7th, it's rewarding terrorism and the crimes of Hamas. Who could possibly support such rubbish? Kamala Harris does. Oh, and by the way, she showed contempt for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu by disappearing when he spoke to Congress and then showing up to lecture him on how to conduct the war that he's got to fight to save his people. I'm beginning to think that when the media or a prominent Democrat tells me something, I should instinctively believe the exact opposite.